Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. We are at a different place because I just got home, which is Toronto. I just flew in not even 2 hours ago. And here I am making this video. So I am tired and probably 95% delirious. So just a disclaimer. And I have my iced coffee. But this video is going to be about all of my favorite books in 2023. And I do not remember what I read because I don't know, I just don't remember things. So I had to go through my Goodreads and be like, oh, this one I loved. And oh, that one was so good. But I only gave 3 books 5 stars. I'm right now at 91 books and 3 are 5 stars. And I'm even they're 4.75, but I'm I'll just do the 5-star because I just get pickier as I read. But I did read some really, really good books. So a lot of these are not 5 stars, but they are 4.25, which is why they're my favorite. But yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. First book is called Better. Oh my gosh, wait. So I love this sweater a lot. It's a llama and it says spread love with 2 L's. Get it? Llama, love. Anyways, I just thought I should let you guys know in case you were wondering what was on it. Maybe you weren't, but now you know. And spread love because don't be rude. So book 1 is called Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. And this book blew up all over TikTok and Instagram and wherever books blow up on social media. And it is a YA romance. If you like old rom-coms, you'll love this book. If you like rom-coms, you'll love this book. If you like cute books, you'll love this book. But it's pretty much about this teenager named Liz and her neighbor named Wes. And Liz likes this guy named Michael. And Wes is friends with Michael. Liz and Wes are kind of enemies. They have this rivalry going on where they play pranks on each other. So I guess they're frenemies, but pretty much they make this pact where he will help her get the guy, right? And well, I don't want to spoil it, but you know what happens. It's just so good. It's really good romance and it's clean and it's just adorable and it's cute and it's it will make your rom-com heart happy. I love this book. This one I gave I think 4.25. I'm really picky with especially when it's hyped. I'm always scared to go in, but it was great. It lived up to the hype. I didn't know if it was 5. Her second book is called The Do-Over, and this is about this girl whose boyfriend breaks up with her on Valentine's Day, and then she has the worst day ever. Her car breaks down, and she with this guy who also goes to school, and then she goes to bed, and it's the same day over and over again. So there's a bit of the time loop thingy going on, which I kind of love. It's weird sometimes because they don't do it really well. This one was really well done, but essentially she lives the same day over and over again, and she just tries to do it differently, but she always runs into this guy who's at her school and then stuff happens. It's just really cute. I will say I like Better Than the Movies better, but this is also really good. I think I gave this one the same rating, around 4.25. Moving on, what do I have next? Okay, this one is called The Collected Regrets of Clover, and I have it right here because it was just at the front of this was a book of the month pick. Also, I love this cover. It is just great. And this is one of the very rare books that I've actually tabbed. Some quotes in this book are just so good. I have to find one. Hope had a magical way of healing someone, or at least helping them hold on for that little bit longer. Are you kidding me? Where's the other one? Messages of love always make their way through, even when someone is unconscious. Unfortunately, it was often the first time that love was ever expressed. That's so sad. Let me actually tell you what this book's about first. So it's pretty much about this woman named Clover, and she's a death doula. So she helps people kind of die, not kind of die. She helps people take their last breath. She helps them move into that wherever they go. And then she spends so much time with dying people that she doesn't really know how to live, and she's all alone. And I think her grandma or someone, I think it was her grandmother, passed away. But then she starts to help this woman. But then she meets this guy. It's it's not really a romance, but there is a bit of romance into it. But it's just a really, really good fiction story, coming of age, about this woman who doesn't know how to live her life and how she discovers herself. And it's just so good. I love this woman so much. And I was crying at the very beginning of this book. It's so sad, but it's so good. And it's her first book too. I don't know, it was just amazing. I have so many things, so many underlined quotes here, and I'm in love with this book. And it's it's not very popular, I guess, but book of the month I guess made it a little popular, but it's just so good. I love this book. I have to read one more quote. Grief is just love looking for a place to settle. There's more for that one, but it's just, I love her. This was 4.25, I think. So close. There was just something weird about it I didn't like. But overall, like, amazing. And also, why would you not buy because of this cover? So if you like general fiction, like coming of age and like sad books, pick it up right now. Because like, you'll cry tears of joy. You'll also cry tears of sadness. Like, why would you not want to do both? One more that I have right in front of me is called Lessons in Chemistry. And this one is just everywhere. It was everywhere. I think it came out 2021, like a while ago, maybe a couple years. It's actually a show now that I haven't seen yet. But it's about this woman. She's a chemist. It's set in the 1960s. So there's a lot of gender inequality. There's a lot of like misogyny. There's just gross men in that period. Like there are gross men right now. But essentially she gets this role as like a chemist on air to help people cook. It's kind of funny because she cooks in like, what's the word? Science words? I don't know the science terms. But there's also a talking dog in this book. But it's just a really good fiction story. It doesn't really read like historical fiction. You just read about this woman and her life, and it is sad, but it's also like hopeful. Like I think there's some trigger warnings in here, so think about that before you read it. But like this lived up to the hype. I read this on a car ride, I think, and I just flew through it. I love this cover. It does kind of look like a romance cover, I will say, so it's a little misleading, but it's just great. And this is her first book. Yeah, this was amazing. This is worth the hype. I feel like I'm gonna introduce my 5-star reads at the very end to kind of build the suspense, so stay tuned. But this next one is called Happy Place, Emily Henry. We all know who Emily Henry is. If we don't know who Emily Henry is, then I don't know what to tell you. I think you should look her up. But Emily Henry is the queen of romance. She blew up on TikTok, blew up on Instagram, and for good reason, because her books are great. Like, someone who says Emily Henry books aren't good, that's a red flag. You should stop talking to that person. But she wrote a new romance this year called Happy Place, and she puts something in these books. I don't know what she puts in it, but I read Book Lovers last year, and that was 5 stars for me. Like, it is just the best romance I have read in a really long time. But this one was also really good, and it's about this group of friends, and they kind of go on like vacation every year or something like that. But anyways, they haven't spoken in a while, and they decide to like do this trip, and then her ex goes on this trip too, like, but I don't think she knows, or they know, but like so anyways, her and her ex dated before, but no one else in the group knows that they broke up. So they pretend to be together throughout the entire trip. This is her steamiest one yet, which is kind of why I didn't like give it 5 stars. I prefer no steam. Hers are usually pretty tame. Like there's a makeout session and like a bit of steam, but this one kind of like, I don't know. It was also near the end, so if you're not into that, like, just it's coming up. But there's a lot of tension, which I love, and her books, they hit in like a really good way. Like, she just knows how to write characters, and this group of friends is just, I love it. They're just so well fleshed out, and I don't know, like, you just have to read it. It's just like a comfort read, you know. It's like summery, it's cute, and this cover is amazing. I cannot wait for her next book. I am anticipating the newest release. Her stuff is not really, like, it's romance, but it's categorized under fiction, which is weird, but I get it, because there's a fiction element to it, but there's also a bit of romance. It's a bit of, I don't know. She does it well, though. Like, it never overpowers. Like, you get fiction and romance, and it just blends well. But Emily Henry, must-read author. Now, Meet Me in Paradise. This cover is misleading, because it looks like a really cute romance, right? And like a cute summer romance, you know, it's what I want to read. No, don't go into that book expecting that, because this one broke me, shattered my heart into pieces, and as I was reading, I just kept on crying even more and more and more. But pretty much it's about this woman who like doesn't really live her life, and her sister books her on this vacation, and she's like, I'm dipping, I'm not coming. So she has to like go on her own, and then she like meets this guy on the plane. Like, it's just kind of funny how they meet, and then he ends up like owning the resort where she goes. I don't really know where this takes place. I don't remember. Somewhere tropical, but something's happening. Like, oh my goodness. And I knew it. I knew what was happening, because I just knew, and I knew it. I did. And why did it hurt more that I knew? Like, I wish I didn't know. Actually, I don't know if that makes sense. But I knew, and I was reading, and I'm like, I'm waiting. And it like, you find out in the middle of the book, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It just gets sadder. But it's so good. It's like romance, but also fiction. More of like coming of age, but there's that really good romance in there as well. I cannot. I want this book. I don't own it, but I love it. And if I find it at a thrift store, I will buy it. But must read if you want to cry, right? Don't expect a cute romance, because you're not going to get that. Next book. Oh, this was fun, because I think this was probably the only, I think, nonfiction book I read this year. I think it's called Crying in Hmart. It's a memoir by Michelle Zauner, and she's like this singer for this, I think the band is called Japanese Breakfast. And it just talks about her life and her relationship with her mom and food. It talks a lot about Asian culture, about just grief. It is good. I don't read a lot of memoirs. I'm trying to get into memoirs. That's one of my things that I want to do more in the new year. But this one was just so good. And it doesn't read like nonfiction. It reads like fiction. I think her voice is just so raw. Like, she's a writer. She knows how to write. But yeah, this one was really close on my list to 5 stars. Especially since I'm not really familiar with a lot of memoirs. I just love this one. Okay, next. Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. Ashley Winstead is my favorite human in the world. She is the sweetest human being. I love her so much. And I like to think that we're friends, you know? But this is her newest thriller. It is called Midnight is the Darkest Hour. So if you love Twilight and like thrillers, like creepy small towns, pretty much it's about this preacher's daughter. And there is this killer, something lurking that's like killing people in the town, right? And we don't exactly know if it's like an actual killer or like there's something supernatural to it. And then so she is trying to like figure out her own life, but it's a small town and it's like a really Christian town, so they're very traditional in certain ways. And also being the preacher's daughter just puts pressure on everyone. So, and this guy comes back to town. He like used to live there a while ago, and they grew up together and they were really close friends. And they're trying to solve the murders that are happening together. So, but the town doesn't like it because he's like the devil in disguise, and like she's like the good girl kind of. But you're trying to figure out what's going on. There's also a bit of romance. Like, she does everything so well. She writes romance, she writes thrillers, she'll do fiction, she'll just do anything. And she blends it all. She's a magician. And it's just so good. Like, it's very dark. So, like, trigger warnings galore at the very first pages of the book. Like, she tells you everything. So, go into that with that. But it is so good. It just talks a lot about, like, small town, like, toxic culture, murder, like, mystery. And it's just amazing. And that twist at the end, why would you do that to me? Like, that ending, I cannot. It's genius, but like, why would you do that? Yeah, you have to read it. You must. If you love thrillers, if you like dark thrillers, you have to read it. You have to read all her books. This one's not my favorite. I would say it's probably The Last Housewife, but this one is like just amazing. She just never disappoints, and I will read anything she writes. Ashley Winstead, give me your grocery list because I'm sure it's pure magic. Next, we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and I read one of her books last year. Her first book actually is called The Dead Romantics, and this was one of my top romances of the year. It is just so good. She writes romance with a bit of like fantastical elements into it, like magical realism, I guess is the word, and she blends it so well. But this is about this woman named Clementine who lives in this apartment in New York City, and it's her grandmother's apartment, and her grandmother died a while ago, so she kind of just gave her the apartment. And I don't know how to explain this, but something in that apartment, like, it goes 7 years back. So one day she goes into the apartment, she finds this guy there, and she's like, who are you? And he's like, this is my apartment. But it's 7 years ago, I think. So there's this weird, like, magical realism thing going on with the apartment, but it's only when she's in it. Like, she leaves and comes back. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it. But pretty much, they start to, like, talk, and, like, there's this romance. Like, you'd think it sounds really weird, but then you read it, and you're like, this is amazing. And her writing is like butter. Like, you can fly through this book so quickly, like hours. And she writes grief really well. Like, I don't know how she does it. I mean, I'm sure she's gone through something, but her depiction of grief is just so like raw and honest, and it just makes me cry. Like, all her books so far have made me cry, but it's great. And the romance is really sweet, and like, I think he's a chef, so there's really good recipes and fun foodie things in there. But read this. Like, actually read all her books. The Dead Romantics is still my favorite, but this one just is kind of up there with it. I think Dead Romantics a little more, but this one's, it's so good. And I will continue to read anything she writes because she just never disappoints either. Like, Ashley Poston, what are you putting in your book? That magical realism is working for me. Okay, next book. I read this pretty recently, maybe last month or the month before. I don't remember. But this is called The Second Chance Year. It is about this woman. See, I don't know anyone's name. Like, I'm not gonna look it up because I'm tired. So you're just gonna get this woman who has had a really rough year. Her boyfriend broke up with her and all that stuff. And she's living on her like best friend's brother's couch or like room. I don't know what's happening. She goes to this New Year's party and like wishes that she can retake the year, but then goes a year back. But something happens like on New Year's Eve with this guy, and then it goes back in time a year ago. So she's back with her boyfriend, she's back with her job, she pretty much has to live out the year again. It's just so good because it blends fiction and romance together. I think that's probably like one of my new favorite genres, like fiction and romance, because I feel like they go hand in hand, because it's also a coming of age story, but it's also like a romance. There's a really, really sweet romance in there, like My Heart. I love this romance. This couple is so cute. And this book, I think, has some trigger warnings, so look out for those. But it is just so well written, and it's just so easy to read. You fall in love with these characters. You love them so much with your whole heart, and they're just so sweet. Like, write me more books now. I love you. But yeah, read this. What Lies in the Woods is my next one, and this was a book of the month pick by, I think her name is Kate Alice Marshall. We also got picked again for this month's book of the month, and I picked it. This is a thriller. It is about this group of, I think this girl, like, she comes back to town, and like one of her friends died, and there was 4 of them, and then one of them died, so she's back in town trying to figure it out, something like that. But if you love books about toxic female friendships, read this book. Like, it does it so well. Like, it's kind of like The Girls Are Also Nice Here by Lori Elizabeth Flynn, but like not dark academia, more of like just kind of just toxic female friendships in general. Like, this book was so good, and it just delves really deep into it. And I personally love these kinds of books because female friendships are always so interesting to read about, because there's always this dynamic where like one is kind of like the leader and then the rest kind of follow her, kind of like PLL. But it's just so good, and the twist in this one was amazing, and that ending, I still remember it kind of. But I'm excited for her new book. I can't wait to read it. If you love thrillers, I think it's small townish. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, this next one is also a thriller. This one is called All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. And I read her sophomore thriller last year. I think it was called The Flicker in the Dark. And that one just blew up. It was like book of the month, and like people just kept reading it and reading it. It blew up on TikTok, I think, for a good reason, right? It was so good. And this is her second thriller. And it is about this woman whose son or kid went missing a year ago, and she has insomnia, so she cannot sleep. Like, she doesn't sleep. Like, she'll wake up, whatever, she'll sleep. Things happen, insomnia. And she's determined to find her kid because she's determined that she can find him. So she gets interviewed by this true crime podcaster, and they're trying to figure out what happened to her kid. But also her past is really like murky. Like, she has a really dark past. Like, something in her childhood happened. So you follow along with the present, you follow along with the past, you learn about everything. And it is so good. Something about insomnia is just creepy, right? And she just writes so well. Like, her books, she's like probably one of the top thriller authors that I will always read. Like, with Ashley Winstead and like Ruth Ware. But she just made it to the top. Like, her writing, it flies really quickly. Like, you can read this book in 2 hours, and you will look up and you'll be like, what? How did I finish it that fast? That's how good her writing is. And it's really simple to read. It's not confusing or anything. Some people like don't like the plot twists. I love it. Like, this one got me really good. And it's just, you like uncover the past while you're trying to figure out where her kid is. Did she ever have a kid? Like, it's a whole thing. But it's so good. If you love twisty psychological thrillers, she's just like at the top of her game, and she's blowing up. She deserves it. And I love it. She needs to write more. So I'm waiting for the next one. Actually, I did read her next one. Oh, no spoiler. But yeah, she does have a new one coming out next year, which I got to read, and stay tuned for my review. But yeah. So this one is also a book of the month pick called The Wishing Game by Meg Schaeffer. This one broke my heart. This was also really close, 4.25, but I was just so close. This one is a bit of magical realism, kind of, a bit of fiction. If you love like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you'll love this book. Like The Magic Tree House, all those kind of like nostalgic books. You'll love this one because it's about this woman who is trying to adopt this kid at her school. She's like a teacher aide kind of person, and she doesn't have the finances, and it is just so sad. I'm like, this kid, like, I love this. It's just, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart. I love this relationship with her and the kid. Something about adoption, like kids in orphanages, I can't. It makes me cry every time. But she's trying to adopt him, and she doesn't really have the money. Like, she's I would say a little poor. But then she gets this letter from like her favorite author that she's like a mega fan of, and he's doing this like competition where he like picks 5 or 6 fans and like invites them to his house. He has this really big like villa island kind of thing, and they like have to kind of compete in these riddles and stuff like that, and like whoever wins gets money, but also gets like an advance to his new book, something like that. But she gets picked, she goes, and like it is just, it's so good. This was also really, really easy to read, and I think I read it in like 3 hours. I was just so hooked, And it's sad, it's hopeful, it's heartwarming. There's a bit of romance in it, and it's really cute and pure. And it made my childhood heart very happy. The riddles are really fun because I'm stupid. I can't figure any of them out, but I just loved it. This was like a breath of fresh air, and it made me cry. It made me like happy. It's just so good. Please read it. Okay, one more, and then we're getting into our 5-star books, which I'm very excited to share. But this one I literally read like 2 days ago. It's called Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh. And this book, I haven't seen this book for like 2-3 years on Goodreads. And like everyone's like 5-star. Like it has really high ratings. I think it's like 4.35. And it's actually insane because Goodreads reviewers are so like cutthroat. 4.09. That's still good though. And I think it's self-published or bookouture. I don't know what that is, but anyways, it is about this woman. I forgot her name already. So Molly and Andrew, and they're friends, and every year they fly together to their destination. Like they both live in the same place, and I don't know, but they fly together every single year for like this 10 years straight. They've been flying together, like same flight every year. Anyways, so their flight gets delayed this year, but Molly is determined to get Andrew to his destination. She was like, I will get him to his destination. I will get him to his family, whatever I have to do. So they go on this like whole like journey. Like they have to go boat, they have to go flight, like they go there and they go there. And their friendship or relationship, should I say, is so cute because they know each other so well. And they have these like cues that like you don't have to like say anything. It's just so cute because you also get past perspectives. You read their like flights every year, and it's just so cute. Like the way I cannot believe it took this long for them to figure it out that they like each other. It's not a spoiler, right? We know they're gonna get together, but the way it happens is just so cute, and it's so pure, and I love this. Like this is probably a 4.5. If not, I don't know if it's 5. I'm so picky, but it's like at the top of my list. There is so much banter in this book. Like this is exactly what I want in a romance. When it has banter, there's like barely a description, which like, thank you, Catherine Walsh, because I don't care about the house when I want to know about the romance. There's one steamy scene, which I kind of like skipped. Maybe that's why I didn't give it 5 stars. I don't know. But it is just so cute, and it's just funny. It's really funny. Like I actually was laughing out loud. Okay, so now we're getting into our 5-star books of the year. Brace yourselves. We have 3 winners. I don't know the order. I think I'm just going to go with the order that I love the most. And we'll start with The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And I love Riley Sager's books. I've given, I think, one of the other books 5 stars. The Last Time I Lied, which you should definitely check out. The Only One Left. It's about this woman who's like a kind of house aide lady for like, the old people. Like, she's a house aide. So like a live-in nanny almost, I think. She gets this job for this woman named Lenora, I think. I could be wrong. But pretty much she's been mute ever since apparently she had killed her sister. That's what they claim. She lives in this like really big house at the top of the hill. And she's like the only one left from the whole entire family. Wait, no, I think she killed her entire family and she hasn't spoken since. So that's what they think happened. So it's really creepy at the very beginning. And his writing is so atmospheric that you get into it right away. And like, it's great. Anyways, so she gets there and then, it's kind of creepy. But she wants to tell her what happened using a typewriter, right? She can't speak. So throughout the chapters, you kind of discover what's going on and like what happened in the past, and like she slowly tells her the story. But it's just so good. It's so twisty. I like flew through this book. He knows how to do it. And people who say otherwise, I can't. Like they say some of his books aren't good, and I haven't read all of them yet. I still have like 2 or 3 left. But this one for me was amazing. I think he's really good at pacing his stories. He's really good at writing twists. They're a bit outlandish, but like who cares? It's a thriller. It's fiction. It's not real. So why are you reading a thriller when it's... Okay, anyway, I'm not going to get into this. This was amazing. I loved it. I can't say it's my favorite of his because I like Last Time I Lied better. And his endings are always so good. You have to read it. If you love thrillers and you haven't read this one, you must. What are you doing with your life? Next book. This one is called Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. And if you like romance and you don't know who Abby Jimenez is, literally just don't even watch this video anymore. Just go figure out who she is. Because she is probably one of my favorite romance authors there is. And she writes rom-coms so well. And this book just had everything you want in a romance. I think her name's Brianna and Jacob. So Brianna is moving into this new hospital to work. Oh wait, no, she works at this hospital. Wait, so what Abby Jimenez does is she writes a book, and then a side character from that book has their own book, and then it just kind of goes along. I think the side character from this one is, so part of your world, this is this best friend, and she has her own story. So she works at this hospital, and then this new doctor comes in. His name's Jacob. He's a lot of anxiety. He's very anxious. He's very socially awkward. And Brianna's kind of like, are you trying to get my job? There's a bit of like, they don't like each other at first. But then, this book is so cute The way they talk, like they write notes to each other. Are you kidding me? The notes, the sticky notes, stop it. It's kind of like the flash share where they like communicate through notes. It is just so cute, and they complement each other so well. Like, she understands it. She gets him in so many ways. Like, at first she doesn't understand like what's happening, like why is he like that? But then like when she finds out, like the way they just are together is just so cute. Like, this is probably the perfect couple. And he is such a sweet man. He's just so genuinely kind and protect him at all costs. Like, whenever he was hurt in the book, I was like, please stop it. Please, someone comfort him. And I love him. I love her. I love them both. And like, this is the first time I think I've seen anxiety representation in male protagonists, which is very rare. Like, I don't think it's ever a thing. So I love that. But I just love how they complement each other. Like, I cannot get over it. They're just so cute. This one is actually not steamy. There's maybe like a small makeup scene. So this is probably why like I push it to the 4.75 5-star. But it's amazing, and you have to read it. I'm excited for her next one because I think there's another character. Like, she just keeps doing it, and it's great. But I still have to read her older books, so we have to find them in a thrift store. But you have to read this book. It is just the cutest thing ever. And she also writes a lot of banter and dialogue, so you kind of fly through it really quickly. My heart, I can't. That book is so good. Okay, and now we are down to the final one. I think, in my opinion, the best book I've read this year. And this one is very, like, I have not heard enough hype about it. I like found it, you know, when you're on Goodreads and they have like the little tag thing at the top and you're like, what is this book? So I just kind of clicked on it. The cover really intrigued me, and I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. And I was like, oh, I'm going to read it one day. But then when I worked at Chapters, they had it in staff room, and I was like, okay, well, I'm taking this. It's a perfect opportunity to read it. If I don't like it, I'll just bring it back. I love this book. Like, I can't even think of like I don't know. Let me explain it. This is called The Bandit Queens by Perini Schroff, I think. And it is about this tiny village. I don't know where it is, actually. Anyways, it's in this tiny village, and there's this woman named Gita, and her husband disappeared a couple years ago, and the entire town thinks that she killed him. And she doesn't really correct anyone. She likes to kind of be that one woman who's like everyone's kind of scared of. But then you follow these other women in her village. There's some trigger warnings, I'd say, with domestic abuse and domestic violence. So definitely look out for that before you read it. But essentially, one of her friends, I wouldn't call them friends because just the relationships in this book are really funny, but one of the other women in the village, her husband is abusing her. So her friend, who thinks she killed her husband, goes up to her and she's like, you have to help me kill my husband, right? And she's like, what? She's like, yeah, you killed yours, you have to help me kill mine. So it's this very like dark, humorous satire book about female friendships, about domestic abuse, about women, and it's just so funny. Like, this book made me laugh out loud because the way the women are with each other, the way they communicate, the way they talk to each other is just so funny. And it is just, I don't know, she wrote them, just like every single one of them, just so well. Like, I might have to reread this book because I loved it. And just a commentary on like domestic abuse and like women not being believed, and like, it is so great. Like, I did not expect to love this book as much as I did, but I was cackling, I think. It's just so funny. But you have to have a certain humor for it because it is a bit of dark humor, but I think it's also just genuinely funny. Like, the way she writes, the way these characters interact with each other, like they're I don't know. It's hilarious. But it's also a bit serious, right? So you have that balance, and she does it so well, like taking a serious topic and kind of like blending it with like humor, I think is amazing. And I don't know, like, this book, maybe it has like 24,000 reviews, but I think more people need to read this because it is just so amazing. Like, it needs to be more. There needs to be more people reading this book, in my opinion, because out of 91 books or 90 books, I picked this one. The characters are just probably the best thing I've ever read in a book. Like, every single one of them, amazing. But yeah, definitely check that one out. It's my top book of the year. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. Let me know what books you read this year. Let me know what books you liked the most. Let me know what books you didn't like. I feel like I should have done a books I didn't like video, or like talked about the books I didn't like. I don't know. This video is already long, but thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all the fun festivity thingies you're doing with your family. I'm very, very excited to read more books. I'm also very excited for the new year. There's a lot of good books coming out, so many things to look forward to. Anyways, have a great day, everyone. Bye.